Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute wild, century-long journey of a Florida reptile who somehow became a Canadian city's greatest icon. It's a story that perfectly bridges different eras of natural history, conservation, and community spirit. I mean, we're talking about an animal that has outlived almost everything else from his original world, yet he continues to completely shape the one he inhabits right now. At a staggering 103 years old, Gus the gopher tortoise isn't just an animal. He is literally a living time capsule, and he holds the title of the oldest known of his species anywhere in the world. Hatched way back around 1922, just think about that for a second. He has lived through a century of immense global change, quietly existing as this steadfast presence while the human world transformed entirely around him. So, it immediately begs the question, right? How exactly did a heat-loving tortoise end up reigning over Halifax, Nova Scotia for more than 75 years? After all, gopher tortoises, they're native to places like southern Georgia and Florida, environments defined by sandy soils and sweltering sunshine. Tracing his path from the American South to the brisk, snowy winters of Atlantic Canada is just a fascinating journey. Okay, Section 1, the unlikely Halifax icon. Let's really dive into this and uncover the unexpected royalty residing at the Nova Scotia Museum of Natural History. Because Gus is way more than your standard museum exhibit. He has basically become a foundational piece of the local culture, a creature that genuinely binds generations together. For generations, Gus has been this incredible touchstone of continuity. The local newspaper, The Coast, honestly summed it up perfectly when they wrote that he is the bedrock foundation of Halifax's identity, noting how generations have grown up looking down into that expressionless gaze. They even spearheaded a genuine nomination for him for the prestigious Order of Nova Scotia back in 2018, under what they called international airbud rules, where there's no specific law stating a tortoise can't be nominated. Community leaders actually rallied behind him. It just proves how deeply ingrained he is in the city's heart. Human faces age, but Gus's just stays carved in stone. Moving on to Section 2, from Florida to Nova Scotia. His story begins far, far away from the snowy winters of Canada, originating in a vastly different era of animal collecting and care. To truly understand Gus, we have to look back at the world he was born into. It was a world where the line between scientific education and roadside entertainment was incredibly blurred. So, tracing his timeline, he hatched around 1922 and started out at Ross Allen's Reptile Institute down in Silver Springs, Florida. This was a place famous for alligator wrestling and snake milking. Then in 1942, a visiting museum director from Halifax named Don Crotus bought him for a mere $5. Crotus actually also bought an indigo snake and a baby alligator, but sadly, only a resilient little tortoise survived the trip back up north to Canada. By 1952, he officially got his name, and fast forward to 1980, the museum threw him his first official birthday party, and that is a tradition that continues to draw massive crowds even today. Now, what's really fun is exactly how he got his name. Back in his early days, he used to roam the museum entirely freely. In 1952, there was this 11-year-old museum volunteer named John Augustus Gilhan. Whenever the tortoise wanted a snack, he would trundle over and firmly tap the young boy's shoe. The staff noticed this adorable little bond and decided to name the tortoise Gus right after John Augustus. His lifestyle today brilliantly illustrates the evolution of animal care over the decades. While wild gopher tortoises forage for up to 8 kilometers a day and dig massive 15-foot burrows in sandy soil to regulate their temperature, Gus lives a highly pampered museum life. He's got a plexiglass enclosure, his habitat is monitored by strict protocols and infrared thermometers, and he gets daily supervised walks. Twice weekly, he gets vitamin D supplements and multivitamins. The guy even has a specialized fire evacuation plan. It's a real testament to how our understanding of animal husbandry has completely transformed since 1942. That brings us to Section 3, the secret life of Gus. Let's see how all of this builds our understanding of his biology and his quirky personality. Because despite his slow pace and expressionless face, there is a whole lot going on beneath that shell. To really appreciate Gus, we have to appreciate his species. Gopher tortoises are what we call a keystone species. That basically means they're an animal that holds up many other creatures within their own ecosystem. In the wild, those deep 15-foot burrows they dig act as communal dormitories. Those sandy tunnels provide essential shelter from predators and harsh weather for dozens of other species. We're talking owls, mice, snakes, frogs. Without the gopher tortoise, entire ecosystems can literally collapse. So while he represents this incredibly vital wild species, as an individual, he is highly opinionated. He has a very distinct personality, complete with a profound love for bananas, dandelions, clover, and digging in the museum's backyard during the summer. But on the flip side, he has a staunch disdain for Swiss chard, he completely despises bath time, and is famously not a fan of the freezing Nova Scotia winters, which is exactly why he stays comfortably indoors when the snow falls. He's also quite the medical marvel. During a routine checkup in 2009, X-rays revealed a massive 6 by 7 centimeter bladder stone. His vet theorizes this is a relic from his early, less understood dietary years, when caretakers just didn't realize how much water and varied diet a tortoise actually needed. But because he's well over 100 years old, doctors have safely left it alone to avoid the high risks of anesthesia. It literally sits inside him as a mineral monument to our evolving standards of care. All right, Section 4, A Century of Legacy. Entering the final chapters of his story, we can clearly see how a single animal can anchor an entire community's environmental consciousness. Gus is so much more than a pet. He's a profound educational force. Having lived well past his wild 40 to 60-year lifespan, this lifelong bachelor has become a true ambassador. I mean, he's inspired multiple actual children's books. Over 1 million children have gently touched his shell over the years, learning their very first lessons about wildlife conservation. By simply living his life, he has brought immense awareness to a species that is now threatened by habitat destruction back in his native Florida. As his caretakers beautifully note, Gus absolutely transcends being a mere exhibit. Zoology curator Andrew Hebda hits the nail on the head when he says, he doesn't just belong to us, he belongs to everyone. Gus is a shared living memory that connects the entire region. Grandparents who visited him way back in the 1950s are now bringing their own grandchildren to look into those exact same eyes. He is a steadfast anchor in a rapidly changing world. Which brings us to our final thought. Gus cannot go back to the Florida of 1922. That world, well, it just doesn't exist anymore. So as habitats vanish globally, if one displaced tortoise can spark a century of wonder and empathy in a city thousands of miles from his natural home, what can we do today to protect the fragile environments he represents? How can we be better stewards of the natural ecosystems right in our own backyards? I'm going to leave you to ponder that. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.